What is the best year of LEGO? The answer to that question depends on who you ask. Everyone has their own favorite year of LEGO. But today I'm here to make the argument for why I think the best year of LEGO is 2015. Greetings, I'm Tumble, and here are my reasons for why 2015 is LEGO's best year. For the purposes of this video, I've got a 2015 LEGO catalog right here. And we'll be flipping through this thing to see if we can find what makes 2015 so special. Ignore the fact that the cover is missing. This is my original LEGO catalog that I've been flipping through very often back in 2015. Yeah. Well, let's take a look then. I believe we do not need to look at Duplo. So let's skip through that. Starting off here. Creator 3-in-1, I will say, wasn't the strongest in 2015. At least in my opinion. Although it did have some cool builds, especially like these two. They are very nice. And this one as well. Now what we are looking for are things like this. Back in 2015, Mixels was still around. Remember that? They were affordable, they were fun, they were original. The minifigure series in 2015 was fantastic as well. I personally never got any of them, but I remember really wanting that king back then. Unfortunately, I never got him, but well. On the Disney princess side of things, not much has changed. And I will say Friends has improved a lot since then. But important to my argument is that Friends was around in 2015 and it didn't, the sets, they aren't as good as they are nowadays, in my opinion. But they were still fine, they were colorful and fun. They had great variety, as you can see. And of course, if you know me, there is one theme that I praise more than any. and that is Lego Elves. And Lego Elves started in 2015. Now, the 2015 Lego Elves sets, they are very nostalgic to me, but they are by no means the best sets out there. They really started picking up with 2016. 2016, Lego Elves had fantastic sets that still hold up by today's standards. But this is where it all started. This was the first wave. This is where it all began. Now, City. City, I will say, is another case of being weaker than its modern counterpart. However, it was around and it was decent enough. Not to mention in 2015 it had a fully fledged construction sub-theme for City. We get the occasional construction set nowadays with City, but not to this scale. And of course, the City Coast Guard sets, those are very nostalgic for me, personally. Those were very nostalgic. Of course, Arctic Explorers. As you can see, even trains, we barely get any proper trains nowadays. Back then, in 2015, we had trains in City and train station up there. And pirates. Another thing that we don't really have anymore nowadays. We have the occasional pirate set in Greater, but a fully fledged pirate theme, we haven't had that in years. And there's Speed Champions once again. Speed Champions nowadays is much better than it was back then. The proportions are much more accurate to their real car counterparts nowadays. But these were still fine. For a kid to play with, these were fantastic. Now coming to Lego Marvel, I don't particularly care about licensed themes. But there's no denying that the variety that Marvel had in 2015 was fantastic, and they don't have it like this anymore. Nowadays everything has to be based on a movie, and yeah, we have that here too. We have the Avengers Tower, we have the Quinjet. Those are all sets that are based directly on Age of Ultron. But we also have silly stuff like this thing. And same for DC. DC nowadays, it is hardly existent. There's just a bunch of Batmobiles nowadays. But look what we used to get. had a Green Lantern set up here. And don't get me started on the Joker Steamroller. That thing was crazy. And of course 2015 had the Lego Movie. And the Lego Movie once again offered a variety of fantastic sets, and most of them still hold up to the standards of today. And of course, Bionicle. Sure, it wasn't the original run of Bionicle, but G2 is still Bionicle, and it's a great representation of Bionicle, even if it's not as good as the original. And in my opinion, it's quite underappreciated. Of course, Ninjago is still around and kicking today, and honestly thriving much more than it was back then even. But these sets are iconic. And of course, so was Rebooted, which was still on shelves back then in 2015. Which you don't see that often nowadays, that the previous year was still on shelves. Nowadays stuff retires way too soon. And of course, Shima. Sure, it was the last wave, and it would end soon after that. But you know what channel you're on. This is the Chi Markets. We do love Chima here. And there's no denying that that last wave of Chima, they went out with a bang. And I mean, despite being an outgoing theme, it still had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages to itself in the catalog. And of course, later in the year, it would get replaced by Nexonites. But for a while, those two themes were on shelves together. And now we get to Ultra Agents. Once again, a fantastic one-off theme. We don't get any one-off themes anymore. It all has to be the next successor to Ninjago or whatever. Of course, we have Dreams now, but even Dreams is like, I love Dreams. It's fantastic, but it's another one of those themes that are made to last for a longer period of time, and I kind of miss the times when we had a theme that was just meant to run for a wave or two and then retire immediately after. And Ultra Agents was that. And they did a fantastic job with these. Most of these still hold up by today's standards. And I remember back when I was a child, I really wanted this set in particular. And honestly, I still do. And of course, 2015 was also the beginning of Lego Minecraft. And as you can see, not a whole lot has changed from back then. Lego Minecraft is essentially still the same theme. Yeah, there's been a few changes, but that's just because Minecraft itself has changed since then. This, while it's basic, that's what the game used to be back then. And it's a fantastic representation of that. And I'm not gonna get into Star Wars because, quite frankly, I'm not a big fan of it. I like the movies. I don't like the Lego sets. However, that does not change the fact that the variety of Star Wars sets back in 2015 is unmatched by what we have today. And of course, Technic. I don't have much to say about Technic. Never really been into Technic, although I do have this thing, I got it for my birthday back then. But yeah. Looking through the catalog, what have we learned? What is it that makes 2015 so special? It's not the builds. The builds are most definitely better nowadays. I much prefer the modern building style, and even though some sets in 2015 were already looking a lot like the modern building style, particularly Nexonites, which wasn't in this catalog yet. That was in the second half of 2015. This is the catalog for the first half. But yeah, the sets, while a lot of the 2015 sets held up by today's standards, not all of them did. And I think LEGO does a much better job designing their sets nowadays. For the most part. So what is it that makes 2015 so memorable for me? It's the variety. And particularly the variety of unlicensed themes. We have Creator. And yeah, it's not the best Creator has ever been. But it's there. And it's decent and fun. And we have Mixels. And we have Friends. And we have Elves. And we have City and we have Ninjago. And we have Chima. And Ultra Agents. And later Nexonites. And that's what's so special about 2015. It had so much going on, so many fantastic ideas, so many great concepts, all rolled into one year. And I think that's beautiful, and something we are missing with today's LEGO. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what your favorite year of LEGO is down in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to see more LEGO Chima and LEGO videos in general. And until then, stay legendary. Goodbye.